Today we're making this ultra moist chocolate cake with a secret ingredient, and let me tell you, you're gonna be floored. It's covered in Swiss meringue buttercream, and do you see that chocolate stripe? Do you see these pink stripes? Okay, if you like my videos, hit that like button. Let's get started. My secret ingredient is beets. Remove the leaves from the beet. I'm chopping the end off too. Quarter them and then add them into your steamer for about maybe 20-25 minutes until a fork can go in easily. All right, my beets are all steamed, and now I'm gonna add them into my food processor and pulse until I have a nice, smooth puree. I'm adding half a cup of unsalted butter at room temperature into my standing mixer fitted with a paddle attachment. We're gonna cream it. My butter is nice and mixed, so now it's time to cream 1.5 cups of granulated sugar right into there. Once your butter and sugar are creamed, we're gonna add 2 eggs in, one at a time. Just make sure the first egg is mixed before you add the second one in. Always scrape the bowl too. My eggs are nice and incorporated, and I want to show you the batter before I add the vanilla in. Look how pretty that is. Add our tablespoon of vanilla extract in. Now it's time to sift our dry ingredients together. So I'm going to add in 2.5 cups of flour, and I'm using cake flour, but all-purpose is fine too. Teaspoon of baking soda, teaspoon of kosher salt. All right, let's sift. Give it a quick whisk. I'm sifting 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder into my butter mixture right now. Reattaching the paddle attachment. Okay, let's scrape that bowl down. It's a mess inside of there. Okay, that looks good. Now we're gonna add in our 1/3 cup of pureed beets, and then it's time to start alternating our flour and buttermilk into there, not forgetting the vinegar. Some people say this is a cool way to sneak vegetables into your kids' food. Let's not kid ourselves. They'd be eating cake with like this much beet in it, and beets are basically sugar anyways, so it's just for color, not the nutritional value. Give it a mix. Ooh, so pretty. So I'm adding in half of the dry mixture right now. You can just eyeball it. Try not to get the counter too filled with flour. So give it a little mix. Add in half of the buttermilk. I love the color. Just gonna scrape the bowl down. Before I finish this off, I'm adding in 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and I'm using champagne vinegar, but it all works fine. Now we're gonna add in the dry mixture, the buttermilk, and we're done. Scrape the bowl down one last time. All that acid is causing an instant reaction and making the batter bubble up really quickly. It's kind of cool. Can you see that in here? By buttering and cocoaing them, we're gonna add cocoa powder instead of flour so that the cake is nice and dark on the edge with no white specks. Into my buttered and cocoa powdered 3 6-inch pans. Okay, last cake strip on, and into the oven at 350 for probably about half an hour, but we'll keep an eye on it. We're making a really creamy Swiss meringue buttercream for this recipe, so the first step is to start separating 5 egg whites from the yolks. The yolks can be used for a curd or a custard, whatever you like. An egg yolk broke, but it's okay because it's on my hands and not in my bowl of egg whites. And 5 egg whites. Now we're gonna place this over some simmering water. But first, let's mix in 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. Whisk that in. If you touch this right now, it feels really sandy and grainy. After we whisk this on our simmering water pot, it's gonna be nice and smooth and creamy and lighter in color and warm to the touch. Also, it'll be 160 degrees Fahrenheit when it's done. So let's get started. You want to make sure the bowl isn't touching the water, so it's going to be a steam bath, not a water bath. Okay, so this is at 160 exactly. I put my finger in, really smooth, gooey, not at all grainy, and of course it's warm to the touch. So let's take this off of our bain-marie, move this whole deal aside, and get our standing mixer out. The bowl of my standing mixer is really clean. However, I just want to be 100% sure there's no fat lingering in there, so I'm going to rub it just with the cut lemon and then wipe it down with a paper towel. Now I'm assured of it being fat-free. I'm gonna pour in my warm egg mixture and mix on medium-high until I have beautiful, glossy, soft peaks. I'm adding in a pinch of salt and giving it a good mix. Okay, I wanna show you what this looks like right now. This is the soft peak stage, and you can see that we have beautiful, soft peaks. Oh my gosh. This is always like my favorite part. I could eat this plain, add a little bit of vanilla, and just give it a nice toast. Some people complain about like butter in a cake. If you want, just make a meringue cake. So you could have beautiful layers of meringue. You could even use like a fruit reduction and swirl that in, and you can avoid all the butter. Always an option. All right. Now it's time for 1 3/4 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature. I'm just gonna add this in while the mixer is on low, and make sure to add in like around a tablespoon at a time, but it doesn't have to be exact. When you add the butter in during this step, you might notice that your meringue buttercream becomes kind of soupy and sad. Just keep whipping it, it'll be fine. If it was way too hot when you added the butter, I would just pop it in the fridge or freezer for a few minutes to chill out and then continue whipping. So take a look. So soupy. Oh no, it's ruined. Actually, it's totally fine. Let's just keep whipping it. Also, during this step, you could feel free to switch to a paddle attachment. The point of the paddle attachment is that it doesn't whip too much air into your meringue buttercream. I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla in right now. Okay, we whipped it up a bit more, and that's just about right. You can see it's really soft, but it's gonna hold its shape, especially once it's sat and chilled for a bit. I'm gonna tell you, before you use any meringue buttercream, either Swiss or Italian, you have to give it a whip right before use because it does lose that silky consistency, it becomes kind of bubbly. So always whip it up. That goes too for if you're storing it. This can store at room temperature for a day if it's covered and not like hot room temperature, like, you know, air conditioning room temperature. Or you could wrap it up and put it in the fridge for, I think, 2 weeks, then let it come to room temperature, give it a whip, it's fine. It can also go into the freezer really well wrapped for like a month or so. So just in case you want to make some ahead of time. Okay, this is gonna be delicious, and you can have a cake that's chocolatey with the vanilla frosting, amazing, but I'm gonna add in a little bit of extra chocolate for the inside of the cake. So I'm gonna melt 3/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then we're gonna add that into a bit of the Italian meringue, Swiss meringue buttercream. Italian and Swiss are very similar, I have to tell you. Anyways, I'm gonna add the chocolate into the buttercream and then have a chocolate stripe and a vanilla stripe on the inside, but the outside is gonna be all white. Okay. 2 30-second bursts at half power later, you can see that my chocolate is maybe like 70% of the way melted, and that's fine. I'm just gonna cover this and leave it alone, and the rest will melt. You don't wanna burn chocolate. It's really sad, annoying, and expensive. Oh my gosh, it's so annoying. Okay, set this aside, let it come to room temperature, and it should be all melty when you come back to it in a few minutes. I'm taking a break from this to invert my cakes because they gotta come out of the pan. My chocolate's melted, so let's take maybe a cup and a half of our Swiss meringue buttercream out, transfer it to another bowl, mix in some of the chocolate until you get a consistency and color and taste that you enjoy. So feel free to taste test during this time. Any extra chocolate can be made into a ganache and drizzle on the inside or snacked on later. Just mix that up. Gorgeous, look at this, it's so pretty. Our buttercreams are all done, so let's make that raspberry powder now. 2 ingredients and you're done. I'm gonna add in almost equal parts of freeze-dried raspberries and confectioner sugar. It's kind of like half a cup of each. Cap goes on. Let's open this up. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, that color is so pretty. Look at that. We ended up with a beautiful millennial blush or a soft dusty pink. This is gonna add stripes to our white cake and make it look special. Transfer the chocolate buttercream to a piping bag with the tip snipped off. Do the same for the vanilla buttercream. Okay, now put both of those into another piping bag fitted with a large, round piping tip. Pipe the two-tone buttercream onto the first layer of the cake. Put the second layer on and repeat the process. After the third layer is on, pipe some more buttercream onto the side, especially those crevices between the layers, and then smear on a really thin layer of buttercream for your crumb coat. You really just want to make sure that there's not going to be any flying crumbs hanging around because you're going to be covering it in buttercream and then chilling the cake. Swiss buttercream can be kind of soft, so before it chills, I'm adding a skewer so everything stays in place. Transfer the rest of the vanilla Swiss buttercream into a piping bag, snip the tip off, and now you're going to cover the cake completely in that white buttercream. Now I'm smoothing the top with an offset spatula and smoothing the side with a bench scraper. You're gonna notice a lot of voids. You can't avoid this, it's fine. Just pipe in a little extra buttercream if you need to and continue smoothing. Don't overwork that buttercream though, because if you scrape it all away, you'll be sad. Finish the smoothing using an offset spatula, pulling it in as you turn the cake slightly. This will give you a nice crisp edge. Okay, so for the stripes, I'm gonna be a little crazy on this. You could avoid them, you could just make whatever kind of cake you like, but for this striped cake, we're gonna be exact. Measure the height of your cake, measure the radius of the circle, meaning from the center to the outside edge. You can make them as wide as you want. I'm making mine about 1 inch wide. Fold the strips at the height of the cake. I want to note that your cake should be chilling during this whole cutting process because it needs to be cold when you add the strips on. Flip the tip to be a triangle on top, so you'll have basically little triangles leading into the center, and they should all be about the same. It could be a little bit off though, don't beat yourself up over this. I also have one extra strip of paper that I'm using, which is the same width as my stripes, a little bit shorter though, and I'm just gonna put that in between each stripe so I can measure out an exact spacing. Everything will look perfect. You might have one final stripe that's a little bit wonky. Don't worry about it, that goes in the back. I'm applying the raspberry powder with my hand. Just pat it on, swipe up, and continue the process. You don't need to completely cover it in the raspberry. You're tinting the buttercream so it'll be pink. Some of the powder is going to fall off and that's fine. Sprinkle or sift a little bit onto the top. Now it's time to remove the excess. This is the messy part. I used a brush, but my buttercream was warming up, so it started streaking. If your buttercream warms up, put the cake back in the fridge because it has to be cold for this part. I learned this the hard way, people. Okay, use a brush to remove the excess. You can also use a compressed air can or even just blow it away if your family is okay with you blowing on a cake. You're gonna want to remove those stripes. Just carefully peel them off and your cake is now ready to serve. Okay, so that raspberry powder was crazy. It made such a mess. If you're doing this off camera, just sift a little bit on. You don't have to use as much as I did, I went overboard. But anyways, this cake turned out great. So moist. I love the addition of beets, you would never expect it. And this adds so much moisture. Originally, this was for a red velvet cake, and I was doing some recipe testing and it just wouldn't hold its color, but I loved the taste and the texture. So I decided to make this crazy Swiss meringue deal. All right, thanks for watching. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.